I'm going to be sharing with you today the step-by-step process to you owning a house wherever you are in any part of the United Kingdom. Hi guys, how are you doing? Thank you so much for all the messages, for all the love that you have shown to us, to me and my family. Thank you so much. It's been an amazing journey to where we are right now. And of course, it was more than a delight to share it with you. So welcome back to my YouTube channel. If you are new here, my name is Lola and I am going to be sharing with you today the step-by-step process to you owning a house wherever you are in any part of the United Kingdom, or if you're planning to come or invest in properties in the United Kingdom. Okay, so I'm just going to be sharing the step-by-step process for you to own a house. So sit back, relax and enjoy, guys. So yeah, this video is, like I said, step-by-step process of becoming a house owner in the United Kingdom. And I'm sure that is one of the reasons why you stopped by this video, or probably YouTube suggested it to you and then you clicked to watch. So if you are thinking of owning a house in the United Kingdom, this video is just the right one for you. I have gone through the process with my husband, and I would say, of course, most recently, and yes, every information you're going to be getting here is correct, and by all means you can also check with other people, or probably people that or your solicitors. Let me just put it that way. You will understand these terms as I go on. So the very first thing is deciding to own a house. Okay, there are a lot of factors for you to put into place, or for you to consider why you want to own a house. Why do I want to own a house in the first place? Which is a very important reason, because the process, or even owning a house by itself, bearing the costs, ensuring that everything is in place is, can be quite tasking, especially probably in the early phases. This is not to scare you. This is just to tell you that you're now in full control, and you are also taking responsibility. If you live in the United Kingdom, you know that something that is very big about the system is responsibility. You're now taking responsibility of this house. Okay, so that means that deciding to own a house, especially one of them is financial responsibilities. Are we ready to bear the cost of owning a house? And putting it in mind that once you own a house, or once even the house is ready, most houses, well, there are some houses that probably are new houses that they would have furnished for you, but in 90% of the cases, you will do the flooring, you would buy your bed, you buy your blinds, you do everything yourself, which has its own good side and then the downside. The downside is majorly financial responsibilities and the stress it bears on you. So decide if you are really ready, if this time is the suitable time for you to bear that financial responsibility, or do you want to wait a little bit more before you go into it. And also deciding, do I want to go into a new build, or do I want to buy an old house that I will refurbish to my own tastes, and then I'll be able to move into. So those are like one of the things that you need to consider. Old houses have their own they have their own advantages, and new houses have their own advantages. New houses, obviously, more energy efficiency than the old houses, and also you'll be able to decide where you want to put what. The structures are new, everything is like most of the things that are used, or let me say all of the things that are used, are like modern things that are very up to date. So you are not finding things that you are not necessarily refurbishing a lot. You are not spending a lot even after you have spent money on mortgage. So it makes sense. I mean, we went for this house is a new house, it's a new build. We're the first people to live here, and when we are going, as we are going through the as we are going through this video, I will explain to, or you will get to know, or let me even say it, that actually this house, before we moved in, we were here when the house started, kind of, when they started building the house. And we were here throughout all the process. It was in the process of building that we were also going through the paperwork, the legal documentations and all of that. And eventually when they finished the house was when we moved in. All right, so which is a good one. But if you think you want to go for an old house, probably for whatever reasons, that is also a very good option. But mostly what I'll be talking about is a new build. All right, so deciding if you really want to do that. After you have done that, another thing is the area you want the house to be. Okay, that is dependent on a lot of factors. Okay, where you work, especially a permanent employment, I would advise at least one. If you are married, at least one person should have a permanent employment, which I would advise that if probably the other person is not settled yet, I would advise that both of you are at least a bit settled before you go into the mortgage process. Okay, so because God forbid if anything happens to a contracted work, it is too much of a load for one person to bear. So I would advise that both of you have permanent employment. So that is the access of the place to your work. You are not going to get, because you want to buy a new house, now go to somewhere that is like 30 minutes drive to your work. That is even drive. If it is 30 minutes drive, most likely public transport is going to take more than 1 hour, which you don't want to go through that headache, especially if you're a family person. Even if you are not married, it doesn't mean you should put yourself through that hassle because you want to own a house. So the closeness of the place to your place of work is something you should consider. Okay, another thing you should also consider is how the social amenities you use from day to day. One of them is school. If you have a child that attends school or that is eligible for going to school or to nursery, or maybe your child is still going to nursery, how close is this place to nursery or to school and all of that? How can I assess all these things around? It should be somewhere that is a bit close to the house, so that school run itself is like a lot of work. Now putting yourself through the stress of leaving the house like 1 hour before you go and pick your child, you don't want to go through it. So selecting a place that is very close to a school, is something you should also consider. Another thing is, if you have other responsibilities, probably, you attend a church or something and you really like this church, you don't want to leave this church, you also need to consider, the closeness of, probably you attend church maybe not as often as you go to school or you go to work, but it is still something you need to consider. Okay, especially if you're a married person, you need to consider this with your partner and decide on, okay, this is the location that we want our house to be. All right, so I think those are like the major things you need to consider. And then also the closeness of this place to social amenities, other social amenities like supermarkets, going to buy things in the store. How close are the stores to this location? So that would it. So once you have considered all these things, you have decided this is the house we want to go, you can go on your Google. Most developers, that's the name of people building the house, they will put their flag, so you will know the name. So once you get once you see that this is the area, you can go on Google and just check like the types of houses. We have different types of houses. We have detached, we have semi-detached. Detached are like the ones that are just standing on their own, that there is, the house is just, I live in a detached house right now, like it's just on its own. Semi-detached are the ones that are attached to another house, like 2 houses joined together by a wall in the middle, or 3 houses, or a terraced house. Another type of house is terraced house, where you see like 20 houses on the same line. So that determines so it depends on what you want, and also according to your pocket, according to your budget, so that will determine. So this is just to give you an information of how much you are going to. So once you get to Google, you will see the types of houses they have, and then you'll be able to decide which one you want to go for. So once you have all this information, you can walk into the development. Usually they will have like a marketing suite. Somebody will be employed to sit down there to give you information. So just walk in there. You are not going to pay any money at this phase. So just walk in there, tell them your desire. This is, I am so, or this is me and my husband, and we want to buy a house in this location. We want a semi-detached house. We want a 2-bed, we want a 3-bed, we want a 4-bed, we want 5-bed. It depends on how much of bedrooms you want. How much of bedroom also depends on how large your family is going to be, or how large your family is. If you have 3 children of different genders, definitely you are not going for anything less than 3 bedrooms, because you can't, both genders at some point will have to stay different. They will have to stay in separate rooms anyways, and then you and your partner or you yourself would have to stay in another room. Okay, so if you also probably want an office in the house, probably you work from home, you're an entrepreneur or whatever, that means that you go for something like 4 bedrooms or 5 bedrooms. Like I said, all these things also depend on your budget. You have to consider how much of, so once you have checked on Google, you have an idea of how much these houses cost, and by all means, usually you are going to pay 20% as deposit. So did I say 20%? You are going to pay, usually you pay 10%, I'm sorry, 10% as deposit. Okay, so and they would usually state it there. There are some developers that probably would accept 20, they will say it's 20% they want. Okay, so you are going to for instance, if the house is £240,000, that means that your deposit is going to be the money that must, your deposit is the money that must be sitting in your account by the time you are making this decision. Okay, or by the time you are walking into the marketing suite to ask for information. The amount of money is like 10%. That 10%, if the developer is saying 10%, is what they are collecting. Okay, so 10%, for instance, if the house is 240, that means that £24,000 must be sitting in your account. Okay, or you can go in and just make decisions. However, just tell them that I'm just here to ask questions. Okay, so that, because most of them are like, they want to start the legal process as soon as possible. All right, so once you walk into the marketing suite, and then you tell them that, okay, this is the type of house we want, a 2-bed, a 3-bed, semi-detached, detached, terrace, depending on what they want. If it is available, now they will take your contact, take your name and all of that. Usually, most of these developers have their own broker. Now, that is the next term that you should be used to, broker or a mortgage advisor. So a mortgage advisor or a broker, they will be the ones to start the legal process. All right, so usually they have the ones that they use that they will recommend to you. But if you have your own private mortgage advisor, you can tell them that you have your own private mortgage advisor. These people are the ones that they will take your contact. They will call you, usually, because we didn't meet physically with any of these people. They will call you, they will take your email, they will take your details. They will ask you questions, your name, your nationality. They will ask, for some specific numbers that will bring out your details. And they will also ask according to your visa type. Are you a student? Are you working? Do you have a work visa? Do you have ILR, which is your indefinite leave to remain? Are you a British citizen already? All those things, they will take the information from you and do their own checks. So once they do their own check, they will ask how much you earn every day, how much you spend, how many children are dependent on you, how much you spend per day, how much where do you live currently, how much do you spend on that rent. They will ask anything about finances. So this is the time you will be very open to them. You'll be as open as possible. There is nothing to hide. If you really want to buy a house, there is nothing to hide. If you have something to hide, don't bother. Okay, so they are going to ask all these questions. They will ask for, and the reason why they are asking all these questions is to check your financial eligibility, and also to check if you have a right to stay in the United Kingdom, or to rent a house or to buy a house. So once they do all those checks, they will be the ones to look for a lender for you. A lender is somebody, because your developer will collect their money cash, okay? but you are not going to pay. If you want to go through this mortgage process, there are some people that probably have the money that they will drop the money as soon as possible. But if you want to go through the mortgage route, so that means that they will look for a lender that will say, okay, oh, we have somebody that wants to buy a house that has so, because they have done their own check, they will present your details that they have checked to the lender. So the lender can be an organization, can be a bank, can be a single person, or can be a family. They have all those details with them. So once they do all those checks, or once they get a lender, once they see a particular lender that is signifying interest in, okay, I will drop the money for this person since we have done this check. So they will, so once that is done, they find a lender for you, they do all these checks. They are going to give you something called a decision in principle. So decision in principle is a document which I think I read it at that point that it is not legally binding, but it is something to present to your developers, the marketing suite that you went to. You present it to them, and that is to tell them that, okay, they said they have checked and we are eligible to buy this house. That is at that point that your developer will now decide if you should pay reservation fee for the house or not. Some developers don't accept the reservation fee, but some of them do. So the fact that you went to the house, you have all the money, you have gone to the marketing suite, and you tell them I have money, they will not reserve the house for you. If another person comes and then their own process is faster, they will give the house to them. But the moment you get this decision in principle, that is a document to say this person is eligible, we can go ahead now with all the legal processes. Okay. Now, it now depends on if the house is ready to be moved into or if the house is not ready to be moved into. For my own case, the house was still in the process of being built, so we had like a long process to go. And then at this point as well, they will also check the source of the money coming into your account. All the documents that your broker is going to ask, your pay slip, how the money came into your account. Okay, so we are also probably going to another video of how to save up for your mortgage, because we have different means by which you can save, by which you can get free money in quotes, legally, everything is legal. Okay, so they will ask for the source of your money and everything. So once they give you the decision in principle, that is to say this person can go ahead. So that is the time that that is the first stage. And then, like what I was saying initially, was if this house is now ready to be moved into, the next thing is they will involve the solicitors, which is the lawyers. Which are the lawyers? The lawyers are the ones that will now take it off from the brokers. They will now, start all the legal processes. You also submit your document to them, all this proof of identity, bills, your right to stay in the United Kingdom, right to rent, right to buy an apartment, all those things they are going to ask, and then you submit to the lawyers. So once they do they do all the checks and everything, so they are going to involve the surveyors. That is if the house is ready to be moved into. If it is not, that is like, for us, that was like a resting phase. So that was the time we were waiting for them to say, okay, this house is ready to be moved into. But once they involve the surveyors will be the one to come to say, okay, this house is eligible to flood in the next so years, or this house is, just to check if that house, the location, everything, the structures are strong enough, if it is okay for you to live in that house, if it is safe for you to live in that house. They will carry out all their checks. It is going to be a very thorough process. Okay, and they are going to tell you that, okay, this house is okay for you to move into. However, at this point, you still have another legal document, a major document, which is called the mortgage in principle, that you are waiting, that you will still that you still need to get. Another thing you need to bear in mind, before you start all this mortgage process, is also your credit score. You need to be sure that your credit score is actually okay, is a good, at least good credit score. You don't have a very poor one. If you have a poor credit score, make sure you rectify it before you start, because there will be a lot of checks going on your account. Okay, and your account will be monitored from time to time. Your solicitors will ask you to be submitting your bank statement, which is usually 3 months bank statement. So that account, I would advise you to get, and usually I would advise a physical account, HSBC, Barclays, Santander, all those ones, not Revolut, not Monzo. No, I will advise you to get a physical account where you keep that money and make sure the money is there. Okay, you can make it your salary account that probably your salary will come into, and then maybe you find a way of dividing it with your family. Maybe, okay, my husband's salary is what we use for the mortgage, and then whatever is coming from my wife is what we use to run the house, so that you are not removing money from it, you are not spending unnecessarily. Okay, that's what personally I would advise. Okay, and ensure that in all your spendings, or probably if you have to remove money from it, it is not reducing, the amount of deposit is not reducing, it's not, the amount of deposit is still intact. Very important. So once your solicitors have done all the checks and they are okay, they will now get back to your lender to say that, okay, we have done all the checks as well, and then they are going to bring, the document to say you should sign, for that you are still interested in going on with the house. Because with your mortgage in principle, you can decide to walk out of the contract if you don't want anymore. Okay, so once you sign, you decide that, okay, I'm going for the house, the lender also signs that, okay, they are also legally binding to the house. So whatever happens at this point, you are still going ahead with the house. So that is what it means. And also they will ask you a series of questions. They will introduce you to insurance companies, to say that, okay, you have to insure the house. There is no doubt about that. You have to insure the house. So once that is in place, they will also they will just ensure that this house you are moving into is safe, and in case anything happens, there are like covers for you here and there. So once that is all in place, they will get back to your lender. The lender will also sign that, okay, we are going ahead and we are releasing the money. So they will release the money to the solicitors. Once they say that the house is also ready to be moved into, you will send your money to the solicitors. You are not sending money to the developers. So it is the solicitor that will add all the money together, including your reservation fee, and then they are going to send it to the developers. So at this point, you have completed the process. The house is ready to be moved into. Then the developers will tell you that, okay, the solicitors have given them a go ahead to give you the key. Because even if the house is ready, they cannot give you the key without the lawyers, the solicitors saying that, okay, you cannot go ahead. All right. So once all of that is done, then the developers will give you a day to come and take your keys. Well, before this time, they can decide. It depends on the stage of the house where it is. They can say, okay, do you want to come and choose? We call it options. What your tile is going to be like. Do you want to do flooring? Do you want us to put cupboard? Do you want us to put wardrobe? You will be able to choose all of that at extra cost. At extra cost. The house is just going to be bare when you come inside. They are just going to put doors and wardrobes and nothing extra. Okay, there are some houses that probably they will put some little things here and there, maybe like fridge, or maybe grass, or even the grass outside, you are going to pay for it. Okay, now depends on the incentive on the house. There are houses that come with incentives. I'm going to be talking about that in the next video. Okay, so at this point, they will give you a moving date, and then you are going to, the day you collect your keys, the day you accept ownership, or the day you sign that, okay, once they give you the day that this is the day that you collect your keys, and then you sign and agree, that is the day that you accept the ownership of the house. So once you collect your key, you have become a house owner. Okay, congratulations. And that is just the entire process. It is not supposed to, for us, we spend like a year, because like I said, they were still building the house. But if the house is ready to move into, there's nothing disturbing you. There's nothing stopping you from moving into the house. So I hope I'm not missing any other points. I don't think I'm missing any other point. I've said everything. If you have any question, please drop it in the comment section. Yes, I've said everything. So, and then also another thing is stamp duties, solicitors' bills, and all of that. Solicitors, your lawyers will have their own fees. So they will tell you before you collect your keys. They will send the amount you're supposed to pay. They will send it to you, which is usual. It depends on probably the process involved and all of that. Each house has its own unique, amount that they are going to fix for it. So once you get the bill, you pay it, and then they will tell the developers that this person has, completed all their duties, and then you are good to go. So Then aside that, stamp duties as well. It depends on how much the house is going to be. If you are paying, I think if you are paying a deposit of more than, I think it's 30K, I'm not sure, or 40K. If you are paying a deposit of more than 40K, I think there is like stamp duty, which is like £1,000 that you are going to pay on it. So it depends on how much you are going to know if you are going to pay stamp duty or not before you go ahead to sign or anything. So yeah, that is the entire process. Drop your questions if you have any, and I will attend to them one after the other. Thank you so much for watching till this time. I will see you in the next video.